I grew up in a quiet neighborhood where nothing exciting ever happened. When I was about 12, my parents bought an old two-story house on the edge of town. It was built sometime in the early 1900s, with creaky wooden floors, peeling wallpaper, and a faint smell of dust that never quite went away. The first time I walked upstairs, I noticed a door at the very end of the hallway that was locked with a heavy iron latch. My parents told me it led to an attic space and that it was too dangerous to go inside. But every night, as I lay in my room, I'd hear faint scraping sounds coming from above, like furniture being dragged slowly across the floor. At first, I tried to ignore it. Old houses make noises, right? But then the sound started happening at the exact same time every night, 2:17 a.m., not earlier, not later, always 2:17. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I crept down the hallway, flashlight in hand. When I got to the door, I noticed something new. The iron latch was unlocked. My parents swore they never touched it. I pushed the door open and was hit with cold, stale air. The attic was empty, except for a single rocking chair facing the far wall. As my flashlight moved across the room, the chair suddenly started to rock slowly on its own. I ran back to my room, slammed the door, and hid under the covers. But the worst part came minutes later, when I heard footsteps walking down the hallway from the attic. Slow, deliberate steps, stopping right outside my door. The next morning, the attic door was locked again. My parents insisted they didn't go up there. But from that night on, at 2:17 a.m., I'd hear the rocking chair creaking. And sometimes, the footsteps would stop right next to my bed. When I was in college, I rented a small house off campus with 2 friends. It was cheap, a little run down, but perfect for students. The weird thing was that the house had huge windows in every room, especially the living room. It always felt like someone could see inside from anywhere. About a week after moving in, I came home late one night. As I approached the front door, I saw a figure standing in the living room window. It was a woman, pale, with dark hair. At first, I thought it was one of my roommates messing around. But when I opened the door, the lights were off and no one was home. Over the next few weeks, we'd all notice strange things. Windows that we knew were closed would be wide open in the morning. Objects would move from shelves to tables overnight. And every night, at around 3 a.m., we'd hear what sounded like whispering near the living room window. One night, I decided to record overnight. I set up my phone facing the living room. The next morning, I checked the footage. At 2:59 a.m., the curtains moved, though the windows were shut. A pale face pressed itself against the glass. From the inside, the figure stood there, completely still, for almost a full minute. Then, suddenly, it turned and disappeared into the hallway. We moved out a week later. The landlord never mentioned any deaths or hauntings. But I'll never forget the way it felt at night, like the house itself was watching us. The house I grew up in had a basement I hated. It was unfinished, cold cement floors, exposed pipes, and a single flickering light bulb that hung from a cord. My parents used it mostly for storage, but every time I went down there, I felt like I wasn't alone. One winter, we had a series of power outages. During one of them, my dad sent me to the basement to reset the breaker. When I flipped the switch, the light bulb above me started flickering violently. As the light flashed, I saw shapes in the shadows. At first, I thought it was just my eyes adjusting, until I realized the shapes were moving closer with each flicker. I ran upstairs and told my parents. They laughed it off. But after that, the light in the basement would flicker at random times, even when the power was fine. One day, I decided to check it out for myself. I grabbed a stronger flashlight and went downstairs. Behind some old boxes, on the far wall, I found drawings scratched into the concrete. Dozens of stick figures, all facing the staircase. That night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps on the basement stairs. When I got up to look, the basement door was wide open and the light was flickering again. We moved out a year later, but I still dream about that basement. Sometimes I see those stick figures in my sleep, and they're getting closer